Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. I am Nicole BC, and you know everything. Alrighty, friend. Before we get started, I'm going to name the context. Last week, we identified that as one of my human advantages. Yours too. Contextualizing. Because if you're listening to this right now and you feel like your brain is a browser with 47 tabs open, none of them are loading, but music's coming from somewhere and you can't fucking find it. And then the phone call happens and the music is in the phone call and you can't hear it and you don't know why you can't turn it. Welcome. Welcome to our context. As per usual, I am standing shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with you. This episode is coming on the heels of the last few where we've been circling consciousness, identity, purpose, work, and AI. The whole question of who you are when you are not your job. What is your business if your business became your personality? What it means to build a life when the old structures are collapsing in real time. And this might be applying directly to you. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, still in recovery mode. Although I'd like to think maybe after this last $25,000 surprise of electricity and well repair, I haven't had any actual damages since the ice storms a couple weeks ago. I mean, we're going 2 weeks with no infrastructure collapse, my friend. 2 thumbs up. So yeah, I know collapsing sounds dramatic, and I also think it's a lot less entertaining than everybody thought it was going to be. Like I made the joke before, this isn't a GTA episode. You know, we hear some inflammatory words out there, but it's it ain't good, and you knew that. We're living in a world where the collective nervous system is basically running a marathon in wet jeans. Everything is harder. It's not really working. Things are trying to go faster and faster, but like everybody is under resourced. Finland, I think it was Finland, might have been Norway, one of those much smarter, better countries, put out a joke kind of like digital nomad visa to all of the Americans who were laid off in January, because apparently we've laid off more people in January than we ever have in our post-industrial economy. And they said, hey, if you're one of the brilliant Americans who work 20 hours a day, we would love to have you. And then you can learn what it's like to have a sustainable lifestyle. If a Finn had an American friend, they were advocating you invite them to come and live in Finland for a month and experience life on the better side. I thought that was pretty funny. And they were talking about how now like one person at every American job is having to do like the 6 of their coworkers' jobs that just got laid off, and no one is changing the metrics or the speed of output. Yeah. I mean, good things for us. We're all self-employed around here, right? Or potentially we're juggling 18 different things because the aforementioned dumpster fire of an economy and world. Trust is fractured. Institutions are wobbly at best. And the internet is a giant hallucination or echo chamber, depending on which corner you have found yourself in. And like, yet everybody still expects you to reply to emails. It's like, what is happening? So today I want to talk about leadership, as per always, self-leadership, but I believe we are all leaders. It starts with you, but you influence every single one around you and in your experience. So this isn't like LinkedIn cosplay leadership. This is staying human, what the last episode was all about. Well, everything around us is trying to numb us out, scare the shit out of us, or make us obedient. Everybody's exhausted. I wrote about this in the loop. It's like, it's not even this like physical exhaustion, and it's not decision fatigue. It's just like input, output ad nauseum. And I don't know if you've tried to do anything recently, but like it seems impossibly hard, right? Like the simple little things. Like I was trying to make a dentist appointment, and then I realized I'm getting double billed for my health insurance. So then I try and call the health insurance to get that to stop. But if I cancel, I can't get a refund. But then I keep paying and I might not even be able to get a refund. And then the dentist is like, we had a cancellation. Do you want to come in now? That's what I'm talking about. Also, not here to try and stress you out. I feel like I'm coming in hot. We're going to collective breath. When humans are in that stressed out, reactive state, you know what happens. We default to control. We default to shortcuts. We default to blame. We default to the kids these days. And no one wants to work, and AI is taking over everything, and everyone is lazy and outsourcing and outputting and making excuses and so on and so forth, right? And I get it, believe me. Control is my favorite drug, especially when things feel unstable and uncertain. But white knuckling the thing you want most is the best way to destroy it. And I'm pretty sure we're all, at least in this little closed circuit, we believe in camaraderie. We're aiming to build. We know we need others to do that. We're leading culture and creation and relationship to build this life for you, for me, for us. So this episode, I hope, matters because the ability to create safety and build capability and trust and context and discernment and all of those human advantages we talked about last week, this ain't a soft skill, never was. This is a survival skill now. This is our bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy. Like the evidence that we're creating, the proof of concept I asked you to track last week, however that showed up for you, this is where we create the compounding outcomes. This is where we start to create that leverage. This is where we sustainably scale without hustle, without bypass, without disassociating, and without pretending whatever was is coming back. So if you're building anything with humans right now, a business, a nonprofit, a creative project, a household, a community, your neighborhood, your street, the advantage, your edge is not work ethic. And believe me, my friend, I still define myself by my work ethic, but that ain't it, right? I believe leaders of this 21st century, those of us who are trailblazing, rule breaking, creating, and building despite the destruction around us, we start with safety to create the capacity for truth. When you feel safe enough, when the people in relationship with you feel safe enough, when we can make a mistake and not lose our dignity, not be afraid of what's going to happen, that's how we get to iterate and improve. It's so funny. I feel like all I am doing is repeating myself at this point, and I think of like every single episode I've created that, like literally almost every word in these episodes the last few weeks, I have another episode on. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Thanks. The last few years for me have felt like one giant punishment, or like I was getting punished over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I could keep going. Again, I don't know if you're with me on that one, but it was already a stressful place. I already had a lot of stress. And then the world demands that we've got to pivot, adapt, perform, keep up. And it's like they're still looking for the same grades in a school where there ain't no teachers no more. Like no one ever gave you the book for the exam, and no one gives a shit about your nervous system. So again, as a leader, are you creating another place where people have to brace themselves or perform for you? Like, are you doing that to yourself? Are you invested in getting the best work or just the most work? What if we started with safe work? Safe work is small work. It's okay. Hear me out. Because when we're playing it safe, we're keeping it small. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to tell the boss ... We don't lean into initiative or creativity because we don't know what's going to happen. And we start worrying more about who's going to be accountable, AKA who's going to take the blame when we're playing it safe. The paradox is like the conundrum then becomes, how do you create a safe place? So it's not the work that's safe, it's the context, which allows people to play dangerously, to play big, to dream impossible potential. We're gonna take the leap right now. One of the things that inspired this episode for me is I'm starting to get to work with a lot of people who are a full generation younger than me. I could be their parent and they are working age. And they teach me so much. And I see so many outstanding qualities in the way they think, in the way they hope, in the way they dream. And I also see the safe work. I think they've grown up in a much more unstable world than I did. You know, the 80s, man. That shit was fucking unhinged. It was unsafe. We just didn't know it, right? So yeah, I'm working with these lovely, delightful Gen Zs. No alphas yet, but they're coming and I can't fucking wait. These youths / adults are wildly sensitive. They are so in tune. They are purpose driven. They want to know why their work matters. And they are not interested in suffering as a personality trait. The boundaries these baddies have, the amount of no's I get at work, like I don't have the capacity for that right now. And it's like, oh, weird. I thought you were just like doom scrolling your Instagram, but I hear what you're doing is regulating your nervous system in the way that you need to do that. Bless. I'm not here to complain about the youth. It's actually the opposite. I want to understand, how do I help this generation? How do I help anybody who doesn't feel safe to do the work? So how do we develop humans without turning them into us? This micromanaging anxiety gremlin with everybody CC'd on the email. Okay, here it is. Here's what we're talking about today. It's going to suck. That's it. We're done. We're good here. I did another episode called Growing Pains, so I couldn't repeat that one. But this is sort of the next, this is Growing Pains part 2. Stretch sucks. It's not forever. It is a learning phase. This is an initiation. But if the price of being good is participating, and you need buy-in as a leader, you need your people to step the fuck up. Like, yeah, you've got to be the emotionally stable one in the room. And also you need to build a container that can hold the instability while people discover how they resource. Okay, so let me like translate that into real words. Growth needs space to suck. This isn't going to be forever, but people need to feel okay making mistakes. Learning means they're not going to know how to do it. The amount of look, I'm going to be really honest here. I don't actually approach leadership this way, so I don't experience it. But when I'm working with younger people, the hesitation, the fear, the insecurity is palpable. And it takes a lot of conversations and me not fixing problems, me not telling them how to do it, me saying, I have ideas, but I want to hear yours, giving them the space and the time to learn how to have ideas, to improve upon their ideas. Like I said last week, to like edit their ideas, right? It takes time. I could get it done 10 times faster. But that's not what this is about anymore. Let me rephrase, because I am not trying to win the race with speed. I'm just not. And if you're a SaaS founder, best of luck to you, my friend. the way that we've been approaching all of this for the last 20/200 years has created the world in which we live now. So what do you want to shift? What do you want to change? I guess what I'm trying to say in this episode is let's stop complaining about everybody else. And if we're truly building change, if we're revolutionizing, evolutionizing our business, what we take most seriously, how can you make it safe for other people to work with you? We ask questions. We take ownership. We co-create. And we make that a part of every single conversation and problem, solution, challenge, opportunity, playthrough that we're engaging in. And that is what we call work ethic, my friend. So, how to take this into your life, lifestyle, business, kingdom, metaverse. Yes, metaverse. And if you're feeling a little lost, maybe bear with me. We're already halfway through, right? Oh yeah. We're nearly there. Martyrdom, sacrifice, compromise. These all felt like things we had to do in order to make it work, right? And I think, on the precipice of another sort of project / business / community. We'll see. Try not to talk about these things too early on. But with the founder, I was discussing why things haven't worked for them in the past. And I think a very obvious, easy excuse is self-sabotage, right? And I said, but I think that can dress up as a very noble cause for you. You've heard me say that a million times, right? And in this instance, it's like husband, father, which are wildly important roles. Some might say, myself included, some of the most sacred work, the most important work we can be doing on this earth right now. It's very challenging to build the business and the family at the same time. Something's got to give. Now we can call that sacrifice, martyrdom, compromise. But if we take a step back and the race becomes 60 years instead of 15, you can have it all. You can have your cake and eat it too. That's what this is about. And I think we have some people who are joining our workforces now who were taught the 15-year race, the 30 under 30, the retire by 40. They sort of grew up in this internet hustle harder tech bro culture. But like their nervous systems are like, abso-fuck-the-lutely not. Like, we all kind of grew up with disassociated parents who were raised by boomers I had boomer parents that, couldn't feel their feelings, and we're all living the repercussions of that. And it's no surprise to me at all that like our kids, AKA the youth, the adults that I'm talking about right now, are all feelings. How can we harness that? How can we make that safe? How can we help everybody understand, like, it's okay to have feelings, especially at work. Bring your feelings into work. And there's a difference between that guiding your output. Like when you ask someone, what do you think? Or what ideas do you have? Or how could we approach this problem? Or why did that problem happen in the first place? They may not have even ever felt safe enough to have that idea. The power dynamics at work are very real. Bring context to that. Bring awareness to that. When you see someone struggling, firstly, give them the space. Don't overcorrect. Don't fix it. Stay calm and let them move through that experience. There's no rush. Maybe that's what this episode should be called, No Rush. If you're the boss, there's a power dynamic. Think about the questions you're asking and how they're being framed. At what's the word? I was going to say the rapidity, the cadence. Like, how quickly are you asking questions? Are you creating space to answer a question before you ask another? Ideation shouldn't feel like a pop quiz. It should feel like a juicy, spacious, generative, expansive, shared experience where we're feeding off of each other and growing together and stretching ourselves. And yes, sometimes that's going to suck. That's awesome. That's okay. So to create this container, safety, resourcing, and reps, my friend. Safety will create the space for someone to feel safe enough to have ideas. Resourcing enables them to choose the most appropriate ideas. And then reps builds competence. So safety means people can be confused without being punished. They can be imperfect without losing dignity. Sometimes crafting mini scripts, SOPs, trainings, Slack channels, these are all ways of helping people feel safe. Validating, acknowledging, and validating is really useful in safety creation. Saying like, hey, I hear you. I have ideas, but I'd like to hear yours first. I recognize I'm the boss and there's a power dynamic here, but your ideas are really important to me. You're on the ground level. I don't get to see what you see. What you see could potentially be the most important information we bring into this. What are you sensing? I am noticing some overwhelm or potentially some fear. Does that feel right for you? Or am I off? Correct me if I'm wrong. These are all ways to build growth, not compliance. Resourcing means, you know how this person works. I did this exercise with someone very recently. Like, what motivates your people? No one had an answer to that. Great. Ask them. The amount of times you'll hear me say to a boss, when they say, well, what should I do about blah, 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 blah? I say, well, ask that person. Identify the problem with them and ask them what they think they can do or should do. And they might not have an answer yet because no one's ever done that before. Resourcing means you know how someone learns. You know what motivates them. You know what they want. And you know where they're going. Again, if you don't know the answers, that's not a fail. That's just a leadership assignment. That's just something you get to do to create more opportunity. This is actually a place where AI can be really useful. You can have them create a form for you. You can have it create a poll. You can do an anonymous feedback form. These things don't take a lot of time. And you can get really valuable data back very quickly from your team. Oh, what's that? Validated data drop? A huge body of research and self-determination theory shows that when people experience autonomy, competence, and relatedness, you get better quality motivation, persistence, and better well-being and performance. This is Energy Leadership Index brouhaha. Like, this is ELI 101. We've talked a lot about that, so I'm not going to get into it. We've also talked about goal setting theory. Like, people need to feel stretched. They will experience some doubt, some fear, and they will overcome it, which teaches them resilience. It gives them a sense of pride. And then they're going to take on bigger, badder, stretchier goals. We also just need to name everything that's happening right now. There's a lot of fear around insecurity in terms of jobs, economy, housing, health, etc., politics. I mean, all of it. So how can you, as a leader, create a safe place, not just in terms of performance, but even having ideas, thinking, being creative? It's very challenging to tune in to your inspiration when you're not sure if you can pay your bills. Research on power, distance, and fear of authority shows that when fear is present, workplace communication gets worse. People speak up less, and that can create real consequences, including errors and communication disasters. Name the power dynamic and correct it. That's it. If someone is having a tough time, ask them about it. It's okay to have feelings at work. And I think, there's a lot of different ways you can facilitate that and recognize that emotional intelligence is a cultural value, not just lip service. And then this is where the reps come in. This is why the stretch sucks. If you want initiative, but you keep snatching the steering wheel. If you want problem solving, but you keep riding in on a white horse. If you want accountability and ownership, but you are the one sprinting to the deadline, might I suggest that's not leadership? That's anxiety in a blazer. So start with low risk reps. Be very clear on outcomes. These are tight timelines, and let things be imperfect. Let people wobble and let them recover. And let them know that's what this is all about. That's the cheat code. 3-day sprints. With 3-day sprints to repair, that line builds problem solving and it reps the muscles needed to overcome helplessness, that flight, fight, freeze, fawn response that is pretty common in work. Because unfortunately, there's still not a lot of workplaces that are really committed to this level of leadership. We're not trying to build a stage for performance here. This is about building a foundation, building a table with 4 sturdy legs holding it up so that we continue to build on it. If people feel like they're being asked to perform, you will get bad acting. But if people think they're being invited to belong, you will get connection, you will get authenticity and validity and loyalty. You will get truth. That strong foundation, that table says, we're in this together, pull up a chair. The stage says, don't mess up, everybody's watching. Your job as a leader is to create a stable foundation. And that's where your initiative, that's where your human edge, the defining factor of what you're doing shows up. And that's when you get real ownership. You'll hear me talk a lot about if you're paying people under a certain threshold of income, if you are offering people work with a certain level of responsibility, you're going to need to expect high turnover. When people are young, when they're inexperienced, their job is to learn. And if they stay at spaces where the learning is maximized, they will leave. So how do you facilitate that? That's a whole different episode. But the reason I bring that up is when you help someone understand, I am here to stretch you. The goal is that you grow in this work and that you take these skills and this confidence and this resilience with you everywhere. Now, that might be to another role within this organization. That might be somewhere else. That's up to you. When you know what motivates them, when you know where they want to go, you can build that ascension process within your organization, and you can temper the investment made by the organization, by you into them, because you know the first 6 months, the exchange is their learning. And until they become wildly proficient at their work, that's it. That's what they get. 6 to 12 months in, or 6 to, I would say, 18 months in, it's a slightly different story. They're starting to grow within your organization. Again, if you've invited them to sit at the table, loyalty is being developed. A certain level of familiarity and trust starts to exist in all different regards. That's valuable. Now there's a real exchange going on beyond just teacher-student. You're creating competence that outlives that particular job, individual, business, even yourself. And then you start to create culture that outlives your presence. This is where we build structure that supports us even on our worst days. You're creating systems that don't collapse the minute you take a day off or take a vacation. That's what makes this episode matter in a dumpster fire of a world. We don't have the luxury of fragility and fear in work any longer. But the solution to that takes time and investment from your perspective as a leader. But that long game, the marathon, not the sprint, creates that sustainable scale. And I think this is the leadership frequency that's going to build from here on out. Warmth without weakness, standards without threats, confidence without domination. A structure that says, I've got you. Motivation that comes from within because we're doing something real that's based on what we want for us. So that's where, as a leader, can you hold that space? Can you build that playpen, that sandbox for everybody to get a little fucking messy, maybe break some shit, but have some fun and stretch? Not because we're scared of what's happening, but because we trust together we can do something fucking amazing. And in fact, the more different that we are and the more experience that we're bringing together, the better it's going to be. Creating a safe space doesn't lower standards. It lowers shame. Safe work is playing small, but a safe space attracts the best people, especially when they might not have some of the old school markers for success. If being good is the price of entry, what happens if you let it be bad? If people stop trying because they don't even feel like they can access success, what happens when they stop bracing for failure? I think we build something we've never seen before. At least that's what I'm testing in real time. So yeah, all the podcast things that you're supposed to do. I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye. Not because we're scared of what's happening, but because we trust together we can do something fucking amazing. And in fact, the more different that we are and the more experience that we're bringing together, the better it's going to be. Creating a safe space doesn't lower standards. It lowers shame. Safe work is playing small, but a safe space attracts the best people, especially when they might not have some of the old school markers for success. If being good is the price of entry, what happens if you let it be bad? If people stop trying because they don't even feel like they can access success, what happens when they stop bracing for failure? I think we build something we've never seen before. At least that's what I'm testing in real time. So yeah, all the podcast things that you're supposed to do. I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.